16-time the champion of the world.
It's a dedication. It's doing the work when everybody else isn't. You know, New Year's Eve I'd be in the practice room practicing. Christmas Eve practicing. The only one really that got really under my skin was Paul Nicholson.
Yeah?
But I felt like strangling. And I was the target because I was the main man, so they all made a beeline for me. I've seen him grab his arm and just chuck all the drinks on the floor. So as soon as Barney got up, get your drinks, lads, quick, get your drinks. Barney, get over there, go on. I think that was the hardest world match play draw for me I've ever had.
Yeah, world champions pretty much all the way through.
Yeah.
And the first round was Gerwin Price. Look how good that was in the end. Would you go back and do it all again?
Yes.
Would you change anything?
Yes. But Barry Hearn always says you've got the council house mentality you have. He says to me, yeah, even though you're not as fit as me, he says, if a £20 note blew down the street, you get it first before I did. I said, bloody right I would.
Phil Taylor, the 16-time world champion.
Thank you very much.
The most successful...
No, you never get bored of listening to that.
Do you not?
No, never.
Okay,
never.
well that's good. That's good. Well, I'll say it a few more times. Most successful player in the history of darts.
Thank you.
What's it like being completely synonymous with a sport? People hear darts, they think Phil Taylor. People hear Phil Taylor, they think darts. What's that like?
It's nice, to be quite honest with you. It's very humbling, you know, because you've done well at what you're good at. So I was good at darts, and I've dedicated my life to it basically, and for that you get a little bit of recognition for it, which is lovely.
You have. It has been dedication of your entire life to one sport.
Yeah. I like money. That's what it was. Because when I was young, and I've always worked, even when I was a kid, I had a paper job. You know what I mean? I've always tried to earn money in the best way I can. And at the time when I first started, I had 3 jobs. And so I was working probably 15, 16 hours a day. And then to play darts for a couple of hours and practice was a dream come true. And to enter tournaments and start winning them. There's nothing finer when you first enter tournaments where you're getting beat by people you shouldn't get beat by. And then all of a sudden you learn by it. I got a classic like as a school bully. I thought, right, I'm going to start hitting back here. And that's what I did. And then all of a sudden you're earning thousands of pounds. You know, from £74 a week wages to go to, say, Lincolnshire Open and win £1,000, that's 2.5 months' wages.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, look, we've heard your sort of origin story. You were making ceramic toilet roll holders and stuff like that. So that was how you were starting off.
No, what it was, said, he gets something in his head, said dead, and he stuck with it. What it was, the job, it was ceramic turning, insulator turning. We didn't do one thing. So
lots of things.
Yeah, you go in the office and pick the drawing up. Whatever drawing was on top of the pile, you picked it up. That was the next job to be done. So it could be anything from a toilet roll flusher, to a caster on the bottom of a bed, to the ball on the 4-poster bed, say. It could be anything from insulators you see on railway lines, shaving brush handles. I tell you what I made a lot of, beer pump handles, funny enough.
All right, you probably saw some of your handiwork
beer
over the
pump
years.
handles, we used to make thousands and thousands of them.
Hard work, I would imagine.
It was enjoyable, though, because you were doing something different all the time.
You only started playing sort of mid-20s, didn't you, darts?
I played when I was a kid. I was good at it. I was natural. I used to take the mickey out of my dad because their team, the Riley Arms, were one of the best teams. I think it was Riley Arms and Norton Arms who would either 1 and number 2 in the league every year. And I used to practice when I could, and in working men's clubs, and I could beat them easy. I was thinking, how come you lot keep winning everything? You're rubbish. Shut up, you. I was only like 13 then. And that's always been in my life. I've always had darts. Because we weren't a well-off family, so you made things up. You played cards, or you played dominoes, and you played darts, obviously. You know what I mean? And the old paper boards then, just to pass the time away.
So you obviously had a real talent for it, but it took you a while to actually take it seriously, didn't it?
Yeah, it was the money side. That's what I really played for. I wouldn't have played darts and been so committed if there was nothing in it for me. You know what I mean? I basically did it to earn a living, to make my family a better living for them, and my family for myself.
How significant was it when Eric Bristow ended up moving into the neighbourhood?
Massive for me. I mean, I didn't like him at the beginning. I thought he was arrogant.
What, just from seeing on the telly or meeting him in person?
Yeah, John Lowe was my favourite in there, because everybody had their own favourite, didn't they? Either Borg McEnroe or whatever. So mine was John Lowe. And then he moved round here, and I got to know him in the dart league. He was watching me. He was with Maureen then. And that's how we got to know each other, and he sponsored me.
So when you'd go and play in his pub, right?
I played for his pub later on in life, yeah. I didn't play for him in the beginning. I played for the Huntsman in Super League. And I was playing most of the top players, and they're all county players in the Super Leagues. They were good players. And I was winning all the time. So I thought, I'm going to get the darts world, see what tournaments there are, and enter them. And that's your basic training then.
So this superstar of the sport moves into the neighbourhood, and you're doing well. You're winning.
Eric used to walk in the room and people got nervous.
Well, what was it like for you then?
Same. It was in awe of him, because he was like your idol, if you know what I mean. He was the one you wanted to emulate or beat. So I used to think, right, I want Eric's attitude, winning attitude, and I want John Lowe's style. So I used to practice with that in my head. It was so strange.
So were you actively trying to impress Eric when you were playing?
When we played the Cockney in Super League and he's there, everybody tried much harder. It's a bit like the Man United syndrome. You can't help it. I mean, if you were playing football on a pitch and David Beckham was watching you or Messi, you'd try a little bit harder just to impress him. Of course you do.
Because I'm sure...
And I did impress him, that's the main thing.
That was it. I'm sure I remember Eric talking about you and saying, I'd come into work and he'd be there on the board already. He just wanted it so much. Is that... Because that hunger, that was all yours.
Do you know what made me do that? Do you know how I thought about that? Stanley Matthews. I used to meet Stan a lot, or Sir Stan, I should say. I used to meet him quite regularly in Stoke, before he passed away, bless him. And he was telling me, he says, when I was at Blackpool, he says, I'd be running on the beach at 6 o'clock in the morning for training, because you aren't. Are you with me? And when you finish training, all the lads would shoot off to the pubs or whatever. He says, I'd do another half an hour training or another hour training because you're not doing it, see. So it gave him the advantage. I think mentally wise as well, it gives you a good attitude. If you know you're going into a tournament and everything's right, you know you've got a 99% chance of winning it.
Because obviously you had the talent, you knew that from quite a young age. You had this drive and this hunger.
That's the hardest part. If you ask any top sports person, the hardest part is the spade work, the groundwork, the work you have to do in a practice room, day in, day out, boring. Christmas Day, before you have your dinner, you're in there for 2 hours practicing. And that's what you have to do. You have to sacrifice. It doesn't come easy. You can win tournaments, but if you want to be consistent, then you've got to put the work in. Because you've got to be fit as well, believe it or not. I know dart players are not the athletes, but you have to be mentally fit and you have to be right. Your arm's got to be right, your brain's got to be right.
Well, that whole idea of being mentally fit and getting your brain right, was that something that Eric had an input on you with, or was that all your own?
Eric made me into a winner. I was losing silly games, and he used to humiliate me. Just little tricks. He was a bugger. He was brilliant at it. And then he'd come up to me after the tournament. I knew that'd work. Do you know what I mean? He'd just say something triggering me off. Well, I'd look at him and think, you cheeky bugger, do you know what I mean? He was great at it. I come into Blackpool, say, first day. Taylor, how many shirts you bought with you? 7, because he's 7 round, or 6, whatever it was. 6 shirts, 1 for each round. You only need 2. I'll say, you only need 2, not me.
Did that have to toughen you up? Did you have to toughen up? Because of Eric?
He did loads of different things. When I was entering these little tournaments, and then there was no mobile phones, he said, how'd you get on the weekend? Semis. Oh, why didn't you ring me? Why didn't you let me know? Ring me next time. Let me know how you got on. So he said, where are you going? I'm going to Derbyshire. Say, Derbyshire Open. Give me a ring when you've finished. So I ring his house up. Hello, it's Phil. How you got on? Semis. Well, don't ring me again with a few F's in there until you win something. I said, but you told me to ring you. Don't ring me again until you win something. Then I didn't ring him. He'd go mad at me then. So he's always winding you up all the time. And then if when he sponsored me, he'd walk in the room. What are you doing sitting down talking to them? Them are not your mates. Get on that practice board. You owe me $5,000. And he'd tell everybody, he owes me $5,000. He's sitting down talking to you. So I'm thinking, you swine. Even if he walked in here now, I'd go and get on the practice board.
Do you think you'd have become the player you became without him?
No. I'd have been good, of course I would, but I wouldn't have done, because I hadn't got the money to travel. You know, I was going to America, say, or Canada, because he sponsored me for the hotel and whatnot, but I hadn't got no money. I might have had 30 quid in my pocket, so I'd go with the butchers and get a loaf of bread and some boiled ham and things like that, just and some squash. Because I couldn't afford to go down the hotels having meals, see.
What was that feeling of getting that first title and then letting Eric know about it?
It's a bit sad, really, in fairness. I know you're dead happy, but then you've made it, you've done it. And all your dreams, it's like you dream of winning the lottery, and once you win it, well, that's gone now. You can't do it again. So it's ever so strange. You have a sit-down moment. I don't know if the other players are the same, but I used to win the Worlds. I'd do all my commitments after I'd won it, all my press and radios and things like that. And then after about 5 or 6 days, they'd go quiet. The phone would stop ringing so much. And all of a sudden, you come down. You come on a big downer when you go a bit teary. So it's very strange, like, as if your world's crashed. And then with me, I was used to it, so I was, don't be daft, and carry on, go do something.
So do you vividly remember, like, after your first world title, having that feeling?
Yeah. A bit sad, like, because you've done all your dreams, and then you're more or less guaranteed a living for the rest of your life. It's ever so weird, and you think to yourself, how lucky are you? You know, you've got all them people you work with who are earning a basic wage each week, and scrimp and save to, you know, survive, and there you are earning, like, 10 years' wages. And the spin-offs with it as well.
When you look back at your career, do you look at it in different stages?
I can't remember half my career.
The bits you remember, the bits you don't, they're the two stages.
Yeah.
But do you look at it in different stages? Do you feel like I was a certain type of player, or it was a certain type of life there, and then significant moments happened that turn you into a different player at all?
You had to keep moving forward. That was the one thing. You know, you get one batch of players. When I first started, obviously it was Eric and Jockey, and Big Cliff, and John Lowe, and Bob Anderson. They were good players. Keith Daly, then. And then there come another batch. The Alan Warreners, the Dennis Priestley's. Well, Dennis was with me then. Rod Annington's kind of thing. And they were a lot better than them. And then there come another batch, which was with Peter Manley's and Yandy Jenkins and things, you know, them kind of people who were better than them. So you had to keep reinventing yourself. A little bit like Madonna, I suppose. You had to keep up with the Joneses all the time. So you had to think, right, what can I do to improve? Whether it's from your shoes, your trousers, your shirts, because now you've got breatheless shirts, you know, what breathe and don't stick to you. In them days, your shirts would be sticking to you. See a lot of players doing this because you're lifting your arm up and your shirt's pulling your arm back down. So, and darts as well, and flights and stems, they're all improving all the time. It's like Formula One, you keep moving forward.
Because there's at least a couple of times in your career where you kind of raised the level of the game, didn't you? I mean, around sort of 2008, 2009, I think of you taking the game to new levels that had never been seen before. What do you actively remember going, right, well, it's got to be better?
No, got to get better. I was average. I think I was average about 108, 109 most games in them days, which was massive. But then the other players were doing it as well. So thinking, you've got to get better now, mate. You know what I mean? You're seeing strange faces coming into the Pro Tours, and they're banging in 180s for fun. I practiced with some young lads. I can't remember who it was. And they're going 180, 140, 180, 180, thinking, oh my goodness, I've got to play these in a bit. And look, as it happens, they hadn't got the bottle. It was the nerves what let them down. But practicing-wise, phenomenal, absolutely brilliant.
Well, nerves and bottle, can you learn that?
No,
or is that just innate?
No, it comes with experience. And you've either got it or you haven't, I think.
When do you consider you're at the peak of your powers, Phil?
I think I was getting there when I did the first 9 darter, I think. Because I was perfecting it. I honestly thought at one time, I said, the lad who was working for me then, Mick, I said, I think I'm going to perfect this, you know. Really getting into it. But yeah, age catches up on you. Everything starts going south then. It's hard work when you're getting older. Your eyesight's not the same. Everything changes. You're not as patient as what you used to be. You know, I was a little bugger really, but so be it.
We talked about Eric and we talked about the psychology of everything. I love mind games in darts. Now, every player that I ever speak to who played against you, they said, oh, Phil had beat you on the practice ball. Before you even went up on stage, he had the beating of you. And I don't know, were you conscious about the stuff you were doing?
No, not really. I could wind people up. Dead easy, some of them. Peter Manley was good. I enjoyed the banter with Peter. I mean, now we get on really, really well. He makes me laugh, Pete does. But at the time, I didn't like him at all. As soon as he walked in the room, I wanted to hit him with a shovel. It was horrible. But he made me practice. When he beat me, I think he beat me somewhere. Oh, that was it, at Blackpool. He beat me, took the board down and got me sign it for somebody. And after that, I think I won enough everything. I won about 1.5 million, and I'd always called it Man and His Millions. I loved it. I went, thank you very much for that. And all the players were having a go at Peter about it.
Is that what spurred you on then?
Yeah, little things. Yeah.
Just rivalries.
Yeah, you get bored of practicing. You get bored of being dedicated. And it takes something to snap you out of that. Do you know what I mean? Like if you smoke or something and you can't stop, and all of a sudden something happens and you just snap and think, right, I'm back.
So, I've got a theory about this whole sort of mind game psychology thing. I think that you were just so much better than everybody for so long that anything you did, everybody was able to just...
They were copying me.
Well, I think they'll just twist themselves around in
Lots
circles.
of them are copying
So
me.
Phil's wearing a hat today. Oh, why is he wearing a hat?
Yeah.
Is he wearing a... Oh, it makes them think. You play a practice game with them. Oh, he's beaten me. Oh, he's lost to me. It doesn't matter what you do. Phil Taylor's done something, so it's part of some clever mind game. You just did what you did, and they twist themselves in knots.
I didn't do it for that reason, yeah. If I started drinking wine and soda, I turned around, everybody's drinking wine and soda. It was weird, honestly. And they all thought everything was on a plate for me. If I had any darts made, I had them the next day. If I had any new flights, I had them the next day. I didn't. I had to wait the same as everybody else because they have to get made abroad. So you have to wait. But people think I get mine straight away. I get special priorities. They don't know. They're just guessing.
It was pretty tough in the early days, though, wasn't it?
Always.
After the split and the PDC, you weren't getting paid your prize money because there just wasn't money to pay you out.
The first prize
cases.
money was me and Dennis Priestley. I think it was 15,000 for the winner, 10,000 runner-up. And we shared prize money. We had 12.5 grand each. But it kept me going, it's thinking. But it doesn't do you any harm. We kept building at it and building at it. I remember that there was a little story for you. There was a local club, working men's club, and they were struggling at the time. And they says to us, is there anything you can do for us, Phil? They asked me, could you do anything? I said, well, we're after venues, actually. I can get Sky, mention it to Sky, and if the roof's big enough, I get the cameras in and things like that, the boon and all that business, maybe you can put a little tournament in here. Seriously? Oh, brilliant. I said, I'll mention it. So I mentioned it. And then he phoned me for a meeting and said, really nice of you if you could do it for us, but could you do it in between the bingo?
Right, that reminds me, actually, Phil. It does. Even when you were winning world titles, you're the famous Phil the Power Taylor, all of this, you always wanted... It was that thing about money. You wanted to earn. You were genuinely... I'm right in thinking this, aren't I? You had a bouncy castle.
Yeah.
That you used to...
I had two.
You had two bouncy castles. All right, tell us how this worked. Right, you just
go to the pub.
And you're going to set it up on some parkland or a car park or whatever.
No, they used to ask me if I do fates and things like that for charity. Used to do it for charity in them days, 50 pence a go. So kids would be queuing up, they'd be jumping right. All right, you lot, off you come. Next ones. It was good. It's good fun.
Wait, what other sport is there going to be the
Maybe
multiple world? The multiple world champion taking 50p's off kids to go and get a bouncy castle. Fabulous stuff. Look, it's given you a lot, this game. And it's allowed you to travel the world and make money and do incredible things. But there is a cost to that, isn't there?
Yeah. It takes it out on your body. It certainly does.
And just having to be in the public eye. Fame is a double-edged sword,
I'm all right
isn't it?
with it. I'm all right with it. People are nice to me. You know what I mean? I don't really get any bad stuff. You know what I mean? So I can walk around, I can enjoy my fame, if you know what I mean. But I'm all right with people anyway.
Has it always been?
Don't get me wrong, if somebody's a bit silly, I'll tell them. You know what I mean? But
we'll get to that. We'll get to. I want to know what you think about loads of players over the years. We've only touched on Manley, but living your life in the public eye can be hard, can't it?
But I'm all right with it. I'm all honestly. They treat me okay.
Look, I mentioned that European Championship and how the incredible standard and there's world championships and match players and everything. But I remember you at the Grand Slam, and I was speaking to you throughout that tournament, and you won it. And you played brilliantly. But every day you were going to the hospital to see your mum Liz. She was ill.
She was dying. Yeah.
And most people, I think a lot of people, would not have been able to do what you did while that was all going on. Did you have this ability to shut things off?
Yeah. That was through my mum and dad. That's the way you get your job done. You know what I mean? I went to Australia working. I said, "You going to be all right, Mum? I'm going to be away for 3 weeks. I'll be fine. Go and get your work now." Because she always, you know, if my gas bill was in, it was £100. She'd say, "Have you got the money to pay for it?" She was always worrying about me all the time. So she wanted me to go out and earn a living. Even though I could pay my gas bill 1,000 times over, do you know what I mean? She always, that. If I worked 7 days a week, I couldn't have a day off. You had to get up for work, otherwise you get a bucket of water on you. I only had it once. I said, "I'm getting up." I was just banging my foot on the ceiling. "Money, I'm up." "You're banging your feet on the ceiling." "Right, I'm coming up." And I was in bed, a boosh, big bucket of water all over me. "Now you're getting up." "Yes." "So I'm coming up the stairs now with that bucket of water. I'm coming down now, I'm getting up." Even though I got loads of money, you know, in my back pocket. I was only a kid, but I was working 7 days a week, so I was all right for money.
So do you think that's what was
My
always
dad was the
instilled
same.
in
My dad
you?
never had a day off, never. Even if he was ill. He said, "What want a day off for? What are we going to do? Sit there watching telly all day?" "Nah, you go work it off."
Do you think that's the big difference between very, very good and successful sports people and the ones who go on to be
Yes.
the all-time greats?
Yeah. It's the dedication. It's doing the work when everybody else isn't. You know, New Year's Eve, I'd be in the practice room practicing. Christmas Eve, practicing. I used to keep setting little goals. Now, every night before I went to bed, I'd have to like 5 180s. Sometimes it'd take me 10 minutes. Sometimes it'd take me an hour and a half. Thinking, "Oh God!" You hit 4, you go 60, miss 60. Put it down and half. Make your practice hard.
Do you think with all the money and everything in the game nowadays that it is easy for players to get
It's lost something.
lazy somehow?
How can I explain? One player said to me once, and this is when he hit home to me. I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to drop anybody in it.
Go on, name names.
No.
Go on, Phil.
And he'd had a new car. And this player had come from nothing, bless him. He built up and he's earned himself a good living, the lad had. And he was up there. And I said, "Oh, that's not, I like that." He says, "Yeah, it was only 50 grand. I said, "Only 50 grand? You know what I mean? It didn't mean anything because they're earning that much money." I thought, that saddened me a little bit. You know what I mean? My first house was only 7,000. And they're paying 50,000 for a car. And think it's nothing. They've got every right to, don't get me wrong, but it just showed you, the attitude's changed.
Yeah. But
Where-
you never lost. Your attitude never changed, even
No,
with all the money
never.
and the fame and the
Never.
adulation.
I hope not. I'm kind to people and I help people. I help loads of people out. I do things people don't even know about, which I don't want people to know about.
Let's talk about your rivals, some of the significant figures in the game. I'm going to say a name.
Yeah.
I want you to give me a word you associate them with. Yeah, okay. And we'll try and keep it clean where possible. Let's start with Barney.
Barney, a breath of fresh air for me, Barney was.
Really?
Yeah, because it was me and Dennis all the time as a rivalry. I mean, Dennis was brilliant on his day. You know what I mean? He was slow. Well, not mega slow, but he was a slow player, but very accurate. And he was hard work. And treble 18s and whatnot he used to do. He used to be a bit of a crippler. Barney came up from the BDO. Obviously, he got his own fame as well with being Dutch and winning the World Championship. So it was a breath of fresh air. It was great. I loved the rivalry with Barney.
What was it like when he moved over? Because obviously he'd been winning world titles there. People were talking him up, saying, "Look, this is the man to challenge Phil.
Yeah.
This is..." And at the time, let's be honest, the PDC and the BDO were probably relatively equally matched in terms of talent. It was just you were way ahead of everybody.
Yeah, we've got more talent than them.
Well, yeah,
No,
there's
kidding.
still-
No, you're right what you're saying. It was 50-50. Of course it was. But they had more players than us as well. And, Barney, it was good. Good that Barney came over.
When he did come over, what was it like? Because there's a lot of... There's a lot of egos, and you've mentioned already sort of the banter and
He
everything.
was all right, Barney was. He was we were all right. It was good. I did his head in, I think, towards the end. Kept beating him. How do you keep doing this? The first one was the head-to-head at Wembley. That was good. I enjoyed that. And so he just moved on from there. Then Barney beat me a game, and I get the ump and start practicing even harder. And he enjoyed it as well. It kept him going.
We've got to talk about the match, the World Championship. Barney just by the tiniest of margins getting one over on you.
That's when the rules changed about the bullying up.
Yeah.
Because you used to leave the dart in. It was the other player's choice, and I'd just put one straight under the wire of the bullseye. I thought, looked at it like, and I went, forget it. He went, leave it in, pal. I thought, oh, no. You've only got the flight, it'll go straight in the middle, and he did. Went bang, straight in the ball.
Yeah, and look...
But I thought I'd got him. I think he kicked in something like, I think he was 100. And I went 180. I thought, I've got you now. And then he went 180 back, and my bottle went. It went, honestly. I thought, oh, no, of all the times. He was a good nicker of legs, Barney was. You never beat Barney until you beat him. And I had to learn this. Because he'd be on something like 220, and you'd be on, say, 64. Next thing you know, he's at 180. Where you're thinking, oh, you look at the scores, think, I've got this, I've got him here. Next thing you know, he's on double top, and that puts the pressure on you then on 64. But you never got him at all. The one shot he did on me, I remember mostly, I was smashing him. I had 116 average, and he left 144. And I thought, he hadn't even hit 100 yet. So I didn't go for it. I went something, and I hit 18 to leave double 16 instead of going for the ball. And I see him look at me like this, thinking he thinks I can't hit this. And he went bump, bump, bump. And then he beat me. I think I was miles in front. And that was the turning point. That was brilliant. Then I realised then, you can't do this with Barney. You've got to go out and play professional and be right.
Because even though he did have that obvious success when he first came over, I mean, it was like you made it your mission to grind him into the dirt over the subsequent years.
Yeah, I was looking forward to playing him. I enjoyed playing him. I got excited about playing him. I remember Sky having a clock. It's 3 weeks, 2 days, 85 minutes before Taylor plays Barney. I remember it. It was brilliant. Sky were fantastic at promoting sport.
Okay.
Best ever. And Barry's do the same.
Barry Hearn. What's the first word that comes to mind when you hear that?
Barry Hearn. How can I explain Barry Hearn? How can I say? He reminds me of Ali McCoist. When he walks in the room, Ali McCoist was another person. There's only a few people I've ever met what do it. When they walk in the room, it's left the light's been switched on. They've got such a presence about them. Where they walk in and you just know Barry's here. You just know, I don't know why, but he's just got this presence about him. And his work, the way he works, the way he keeps promoting, the way he keeps doing what he does. I mean, I've never met anybody like him. His energy levels are massive.
It's exhausting, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, me and Steve Davis used to do a Sportel, and he'd be up at 6 o'clock in the morning in the gym and not get in bed till 2 o'clock in the morning the next night. Steve was the colour of this, white as a sheet. I was like this, and Barry said, come on, lads, let's have them today. Let's do another 4 million today, whatever it was. And we're like, Barry, shut up. You've only been in bed 3 hours, and he's done an hour in the gym.
One word to describe Peter Manley.
At the time...
wherever you want.
I couldn't say one word. He was a wind-up merchant. Always on. Always saying something to somebody. Always being sarky with them, saying something. He was funny at times, but always having a little dig. And he liked it.
Was that an annoyance? Did that get under your skin?
Sometimes, yeah. You'd have to ask him. I'm not going to tell you.
You can tell us anything, Phil. Shoot from the hip.
No. My hip's gone. I've got to have it. No.
Okay.
It was a pain, yeah.
Adrian Lewis.
Adi was like my little thingy, wasn't he? I was chuffed. He was like as if he was my son. So when he won the Worlds, if my own son had won it, I wouldn't have been any prouder.
Because you had an incredible relationship. You won the World Cup together 4 times. You've said before, look, I fed him and clothed him. I turned him into...
I haven't clothed him. I haven't got that much money.
You did all right with the feeding, though. Fed him well. But you helped turn him into a world champion.
Adrian had got it. You know what I mean? He didn't really take a lot of advising. He would just practice together. You know what I mean? I'd say certain things to him, you know what I mean? And look after your money and whatever. Main thing is your rest, obviously. You know what I mean? A lot of players were going out till 1 and 2 o'clock in the morning, and they shattered the next day. You've got to get into that Players' Championship because you're starting at like 10 in the morning till 7, 8 o'clock at night. You've got to be mentally alert.
When did you recognise in Adrian something special? Like immediately?
He was a good player. His dad was a good player, Sammy. He was very good. He was a County A player. I mean, anybody can be a good player, but will they ever win anything? Who knows? I mean, I remember Louis Corey saying, well, will Adrian win the Worlds? I said, he can, but will he do it? I don't know. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of players. Ian White's another player who could win the World Championship. He's talented, but never seemed to make it. You know what I mean? That's when you've got to just alter different things then, just to get that extra 10% out of yourself.
Gary Anderson.
Gary, always tired. The two things he ever says, I want a coffee and I want my bed.
Yeah, I've heard him say that.
But in fairness to him, he's probably one of the hardest workers I've ever met. Exhibition circuit, up and down every day, and tournaments. He is probably the hardest art player, work-wise, I've ever met.
Because he's one of those guys who will point to you and say, Phil Taylor is the reason I got as good as I did, because I knew he was the benchmark. He's what I had to get to.
Yeah, of course you have. So you should.
What was it like always being the bloke that people were chasing?
You don't know it. You know, they don't come to you and say that. You get the odd ones who'll say it. Most of them don't say anything. So you don't know. You don't know they're saying these things.
Well, who were the odd ones who came up to you and said, I'm going to take you down, pal?
None of them, I don't think. I think the only one really that got really under my skin was Paul Nicholson.
Yeah?
But I felt like strangling.
Go on, talk to us about Nicholson. Come on.
No, he was winding people up, especially me. I mean, I was always the target from, they were coming over from the BDO, and I was the target because I was the main man, so they all made a beeline for me.
So what was it like when, Nicholson's sitting down on the stage where he's waving you off?
I thought that was funny. I thought you're an idiot because the crowd are going to go mental at you now. And he wasn't the person to take it. And how brash he was, he actually is very sensitive. And he'd break his heart about it. I remember saying to him, Paul, don't do it, because you'll only make a rod for your own back. Now you're labelled with that. That's what you're going to get now. Every time you play, you're going to be booed like Gerwen does. Gerwen Price.
Well, what would your advice be to Gerwen Price now?
Calm it down a little bit. Do it at the right times, I'd say.
Because, it's part of him, isn't it?
He did a lovely 170 at the weekend when the lad was sitting on double top, the young German lad. And then, yes, let it go. But not if you hit a ton.
Because that was, you said before, John Lowe was always my favourite. Eric Bristow, I thought he was a bit cocky and arrogant.
Yeah.
But you can kind of appreciate there's different ways of playing this game,
Of course there is. It's strange how you see him climb to the top and then climb back down again. That's another one as well. You know what I mean? You're on the way up, they're there, and they're all cocky. You're thinking, wait till you get a bad spell. That's when it counts. That's when you got to learn how to turn it round and reinvent yourself. And a lot of people can't do it.
Well, what about one final one then? Give me a word to describe Michael Van Gerwen.
Michael, a winner, definitely a winner. Mentality. I mean, I've never met it. Bar from Barney, who was a terrible loser, hated losing with a passion. I mean, I've seen him grab his arm and just chuck all the drinks on the floor. So as soon as Barney got big, get your drinks, lads, quick, get your drinks. Barney, get over there, go on. Michael's, I've seen him break his heart. You know what I mean? And that, to me, that says a lot about Michael, that he really is trying his 100%.
Do you see, is that something that you had yourself? Because you hated losing, didn't you?
I wasn't a bad loser.
No, but
I'd have 10 minutes where, you know what I mean, leave me alone, let me just calm down a little bit. Because obviously, it depends how you lose as well. The worst one is if you, say you're sitting on a double. I remember I had 3 or 4 darts to beat Barney at Bolton. And I've gone, just missed double top, and then I've got 3 clear darts at him. Barney sitting on 97. And I missed. And he went treble 19, double top, and then jumped round the stage like Tigger. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's the worst, because you've done all that hard work to get back to, if I was behind, and get back to make it level pegging, say 12 each, first one to 13, and then you miss. God, that is awful.
I mean, we've rattled off a load of names there, and they've been some of your biggest challengers. They've come for you and they've drifted away.
It's different now, Dan. I mean, years ago when I was playing, then obviously, there was always... I always got on with Barney, but then I always wanted to beat him. But I still enjoyed it. And then the youngsters coming through, you don't like them because they're different generation. They're different conversations. They're in there with iPad, things in their ears, and where we used to have a laugh and a joke. Especially me and Adi and Gary Anderson and whatnot. We were always taking the mickey out of each other. And it's all changed, so I become where it's time for me to go now.
Well, I wanted to add, because the battle that you had with MVG as a darts fan
Yeah.
in the last few years of your career, it was brilliant because it was really even. You were beating each other pretty much. It was about 50-50 all the way through. But obviously, you were taking a back seat. You weren't playing as many tournaments. Van Gerwen had got to number 1 and he'd won a world title. And that presumably was the point where you were going, I can see the end of the career is in sight. What was it like for you those last few years?
When I remember saying to Pete Williams, and I said, how do you know when to retire, Pete? Because I see Pete every day, and he says, you'll know. He says, you just wake up one morning, you think, I've had enough. And that's what it was.
When you look back at your career, what are the main
Do you know what it
moments
feels
that
like for
stand
me?
out?
I never had it. It feels like you never had a career.
In what way?
You just was gone. It's weird. It's ever so strange.
You feel kind of detached
I said
from
this
it
to
all.
Pete because he was entertainer. I said, "Do you ever feel like you never were an entertainer?" He says, "Yeah, exactly the same." It's weird. It's like you were never there. It's ever so strange.
Well, what
And when they're singing your name or they're talking about you, you're like, it's as if they're talking about somebody else.
They were still singing your name now. They're still singing your
know,
name
I
in
know.
Germany this weekend. But what are the moments that stand out? What are the ones that you do cling on to and go, they're the ones that will stay with me
My
forever?
favourite memories.
Yeah.
It's got to be the News of the World.
Yeah?
Because that's the one Eric always said. You're not a world champion until you win the News of the World, which I did. That remember, because that was hard work. That was a really tough tournament.
Okay, News of the World, there's one.
Blackpool.
Which, what, all of them?
I think the 9 darty has always stay with me for Blackpool.
You called that as well, didn't you? Is that the one you called? You predicted you were going to do it?
I was practicing well. I was practicing in my guest house. I was staying in the guest house then with Dan and Webster, who was playing brilliant, and Daryl Fitton. And I was doing 9 darters to beat him. They were playing that well. Honestly, Dan and Webster, when he was on song, was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. He's another one who could have been world champion. But he was too, you know what I mean? Snatching his dart. Oh, yeah. Just, if I got him, just calm down a little bit, take your time, just hold back a little bit. You know what I mean? Little things, what he was doing wrong. And he was snatching his darts. But he got it. He got that talent Darren had. Good little player.
What's been your most extravagant purchase?
Houses. Cars, I suppose. Jewellery.
What jewellery are you talking about? Flash watch or have you
This
had
was
anything
bought for
completely
me.
outlandish?
Gary bought me this as a present, my sponsor. Mm-hmm. But no, not really. Pair of tracksuit bottoms, I think, is about how I get there.
You've had some interesting like sponsorships and things like that, though, haven't you?
Yeah.
Was it the Fill the Power shakes were a thing? Was that like a protein shake? That was a thing. I don't know if you've had any weirder than that.
I don't know, have we? I've been offered some things in my past.
But you have,
I was offered a pie factory once.
You offered a pie factory.
Not a pie factory, but a sponsorship of a pie factory.
What were they? Were they offering just money, or was it free pies?
It was
as well?
money, probably free pies. No, I couldn't do it. No, because I know what I'm going to get. Who ate all the pies every time we go on stage?
You did. You talked earlier about reinventing yourself. You're a player who did put a lot of effort in to try and make yourself darts fit, didn't you? You used to go and do your trips to Portugal and juicing and colonic irrigation was one of the things.
Yeah. Anything really, anything. You just try different things. Always trying different diets. I think that's why I put my weight on, because my metabolism's shot.
Sport doesn't do sentiment very well. The sport is very, you're good enough to win or you're not. That's it.
Yeah.
But the final year of your
You're
career,
paid on your performance. That's what Barry says. You perform, you get paid.
but that's it. You know, there were lots of people.
That's with any job. If you're an electrician and you don't perform, then you ain't going to get paid, are you?
True, but the final year of your career, loads of people would have wanted, all your fans would have wanted you to sign off with something special. But as I say, sport doesn't do sentiment. The fact that you won the match play again and made the world final,
I think that
couldn't have
was
gone
the
much
hardest.
better, could it?
I think that was the hardest world match play draw for me I've ever had.
Yeah, world champions pretty much all the way through.
Yeah.
And the first round was Gerwin Price. Look how good that was in the end.
I remember Gerwin winning the first leg and doing his war dance. And I thought it was dead funny. He didn't put me off at all, where he was putting people off. And I just looked at him and started. I think that he's looking at me like, yeah, it was hard. It was hard work. I think Adi was one. Michael was another one. Peter Wright. Forget the other one. Barney.
Yeah.
Barney, we mate Barney. Bloody hell. So yeah, we did all right there.
Did you surprise yourself that you were able to still go and do it before you walked away from the sport in that manner?
Yes, of course it does. Yeah. You think you're not going to win. 58 years old, you're not going to win tournaments. Of course you're not. It's ridiculous, really. But I was still up there. And I would have made the World Championships the next year after as well with my rankings. Because I was still high up. I think I was in the top 4 when I retired.
I mean, that must be an enormous source of pride for you to have signed off in that way.
It's lovely. It's nice. It was the longest year I've ever had. You know, when you think, right, I'm retiring at the end of the year, and you're doing the Premier League and you're doing something, I'm thinking, God, this is never going to end. And it was dragging. Now the weeks and the months fly by now. But then, when you're waiting for... It's like waiting to go on holiday, isn't it? You know what I mean? You're thinking, 10 days before I go on holiday. 9 days before I go on holiday. It's horrible. Where now, the days just disappear. Brill.
Well, look, we're sat in your house in Stoke here, and I know you've got properties and you've had holiday homes and all sorts of stuff, but you never moved away from here, have you? It's always
Not
been...
really. The furthest away was Crewe Nantwich, when I lived up Witchwood Park. That was a nice area. I enjoyed it there. And we had security and everything. It was dead safe. I mean, people can go out at 12 o'clock at night, walk around the park, and you've got security on. Nobody bother you, like.
But that's, despite all the money and everything else... You've always
you do full
stayed where
circle,
you
Dan.
were.
When you're young, you want everything. You want your flash cars, you want your nice big houses and everything else. Everybody does. And then as you get old, you realise, I've got to clean it. I've got to pay all the bills. Got to do all the repairs. Your flash cars, you're worried about in case they get scratched. You know what I mean? You buy. It's like living in a gilded birdcage. You know what I mean? So you buy all these things, then you think, I don't really need them. I remember Robbie, when I first stayed with Robbie, he says, first thing I did when in Los Angeles, he says, I went out and I bought a Bentley, a Rolls Royce.
This is Robbie Williams.
Ferrari, yeah. He bought all what what the big stars do. And after a week, he thought, what am I doing? You can't drive. So he says, I sold them all. And he had a Range Rover then, and his favourite one was a Lexus. He had a Lexus, and it was dead comfortable. You learn. The things don't matter.
But you're very much... We've talked about all these achievements that you've had and all the things you've done.
You can't eat watches, can you? And cars and houses. You can have food in the fridge.
But it's all come out of this...
Throwing a dart.
Well, it's all come out of throwing a dart, but you're so good at that because of your upbringing, because of who you are, where you're from, your parents, everything, all the stuff, and you've always wanted to stay around here. That you've never been able to. That it's always been.
I don't want to
Phil
move.
Taylor and Stoke.
No, I don't want to move. I've got a family and whatnot. And Wayne, my cousin, he owns a meat business, and there's other people as well that I know who are business people struggling to get workers that want to work. Like one lad, he lives with his grandma and his granddad, and he only wants to work 3 days a week because he doesn't need work 4 or 5. Where in my day, you had to work your 5 days a week, otherwise you wouldn't get a job on there. But now youngsters, they aren't the same. And not all the youngsters, I can't label them all the same, but a lot of them haven't got the motivation. Like they're living with their parents, they're quite happy being where they are. They haven't got that ambition to buy a house or have a nice car and this, that and the other and go on holidays. They're quite happy the way they are. Everything's changed.
Well, it's evidently...
But life's a bit harder for them as well, you know what I mean? Everything's changed, it's expensive now to live, which I understand.
But it's, that hunger has seen you, right? And it's seen you to having the most successful career in this sport that we've ever seen. But with your life completely entwined in darts and darts tied up with you, if I said now I could click my fingers and go back to the mid-'80s...
Last week I was putting the kitchen in. Next week I'll have to tile it. But I enjoy it. It's something that's nice.
Would you go back and do it all again?
Yes.
Would you change anything?
Yes.
What would you change?
I'd have bought properties in London. Seriously. I'd have invested every penny I got into properties in London.
Well, if we went back to the 1980s, I'd go and buy some shares in Apple and we'd all be rich and then never...
Well, yeah.
But would you have done your career, would you have changed anything about it?
Loads.
What things stick
I'd
out?
have paced myself for a start. I was doing exhibition work. I was doing miles and miles and miles every week. Shouldn't have done it really. I was working with Tommy Cox then, but Tommy was my manager. But we were doing a lot of travelling. Like a Monday, I'd be in London doing an exhibition. Tuesday, I'd be in Glasgow. Wednesday, I'd be in Norfolk. Thursday, I'd be in Norwich. Norfolk to Norwich. Norwich, one thing. And then I'd be in Wales. And then, oh, mate, I was shattered. But I was still winning tournaments. I was still doing it. But I'd have changed all that. I wouldn't have done all that. I'd have concentrated. Like Adrian Lewis does. Or, I mean, they do other exhibition work, but they're not as what I was. I was out 5-6 days a week. £300 a night then, which was good money. But Barry Hearn always says, you've got the council house mentality you have. He says to me, yeah, even though you're not as fit as me, he says, if a £20 note blew down the street, you get it first before I did. I said, bloody right I would.
And that's never left you, Phil.
No.
And that...
So you shouldn't.
And that is why we're talking to you today. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers.